Oh, I can hear you, spikers. Goodbye.
Welcome.
Hello. How are you?
I didn't get an email till late. Where did you stay?
Oh, we just arrived as the march started.
Did you? We got to go to Inverness.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
No, we just hit the ground running.
Oh well. We done that yesterday.
Nice to see you. You got a double, I saw, a complete double just now. Hello guys. Hello, sir. It's a cracking hat, sir.
All right. And also you're here supporting independence. Yeah. I'll just
Solidarity.
Yeah.
The right of self-determination.
Yeah.
For Scotland and the people of Palestine.
Hello, babes.
We'll be doing a wee bit as well.
Good.
And there's a bar, there'll be raffles. So have a good night, guys.
Sounds like it's going to be a great night. I'll see you later, Neil. Ta-ta. Do you want to do a wee...
Salvo. There's a salvo flag.
Fade away, my sunset dark. Please don't
Hello.
stay. I can't talk.
It's a cracking day.
It's very nice now.
There's a wee do on later on as well. Do you know about that? Yeah. So enjoy your day, folks. I'll see you later.
What we want is independence. What we want is independence. What we want is
It's okay if there's any trolls, we'll get rid of them later.
and no more London rule.
Well done.
Great for the book. Bring the money again.
That's a cricket video.
Remember the highway code, you need to go for the red.
Hello, how are you?
Not bad at all. You're
Sorry for going in front of you.
Oh, no.
Elgin flag and Elgin march. That's a cracking flag. It's like blue tartan salsa. for the world. So there's people joining the march and leaving all the time, so it's quite far for people to walk, some of the people. So
see anybody you know, tag them and share the video. Hiya. Hello again. Hello, beautiful baby.
I'm wondering what your name is, where you're from, and why you're here.
So I'm April, I'm from outside Edinburgh, and there's AES came up, we're signing a wee bungalow here in Elgin.
Oh, cool.
So we've never came up this far, so we're so excited to be here.
Brilliant. And it's a lovely day, isn't it?
Beautiful.
So why are you here, obviously? obviously.
Well, for independence.
Exactly, aye.
What do we want?
Independence! Thank you!
It's not going to be given to you. We're going to have to take it back. So we have a King's Council going to the International Court of Justice with the case that reduces that sham. Based on this single point, never stop the constitution. There was reasonable constitution ever. By the half of us.
I'm just looking for the coolest people.
All the roads are closed right in the park.
one by the man on TV. Too many questions.
You know. Alright, this way. Right, this way, sorry. Okay. That's me being told. No, I've just had my arse helped. So when we get in here, we'll just walk up to the stage, okay? Get in there. Okay, okay. Aye. I've never been there. Okay, I've made it more than I've told them. So stressful, so it is.
Must be other organiser than that.
But it's good. Good fun.
Good being see it all come together.
Yeah, aye, it is.
Well, listen, you're a drummer. What's next?
Sergeant McKinsey would be quite.
Hope you've enjoyed that, everyone. Excellent, we're going to go past them. Bikers are all brilliant, aren't they? See the bikers there? See if I can zoom in. See them better when we get out here. I'm sure you can hear the thunder.
apologies to everyone that couldn't make it. I'd also like to say a hiya to June Nicholson. I hope you're watching, June. I hope you're having a good day. Sandra, I'd like to say hello to you too. I'll show you the stalls in a wee minute as I walk past. I'm knackered. Hi, John. There's the stalls that are there. John with his big sword. Oh, there's Brian. There's a warm one.
Aye.
Stephen over there. Oh, there's Margaret. Right.
We'll just allow everybody to get in. We'll maybe wait for about 5-10 minutes. Maybe if Sir Albert can maybe do a wee tune for us to warm us up before the speakers come on. And we can hope Fiona Campbell to come up the stage, Steve Chisholm and Scott Lawrence. So Fiona Campbell.
Did you enjoy it? Enjoy it.
The Scott Lawrence a bit. You can make his way to the stage. Just let everybody get into the body of the car. I tell you, before you guys turned up, the sun was splitting the pavement.
We do Scott and the Brave, and we do the...
So that big yellow thing in the sky. We've not seen it for a few months.
See that? Carry on. Okay, we do Scott and the Brave. Who knows it? Start off, no. Fire Scott. Start it off. Okay, so Fire Scott.
You certainly will.
You're right. Okay guys, that's going to be the end of the live stream, folk. Thanks very much once again for doing the walk. I'm sure you've enjoyed it. You'll find it all under one banner and live. I'll catch you later.
Wearing too many hats.
You're right, Jason.
I missed you then. I walked by and said, why would I? You know, it's like, I'm busy.
Wonderful stuff. Absolutely wonderful place, Alba. Well, I'd just like to welcome everybody here today on behalf of all under one banner. We're meeting at a definitive pivotal point for the indie movement. Now, a few heads were down after the general election results. It doesn't look like it. Looks like unionism is triumphant. But I think what we've always got to remember is what is their plan to actually reverse the slide that we've seen in Scotland over the last 10 years. 10 years of wasted opportunities. And the Keir Starmer government will do nothing. From day one, it is a government of crisis. So we should remember that whilst the situation does not look great for the independence movement at the moment, what we should always remember is that in the polls, 50% of Scots still support independence. All those people who voted independence in 2014, many of them were Labour voters. It's obvious that some of them went back over to Labour, but they still support independence. This is the fundamental point. I can see this in Dundee. Dundee, we were weighing the votes for independence, the largest vote anywhere in Scotland. But the SNP only got in by 800 votes. However, that Labour vote is not necessarily a unionist vote, and we should always remember that. And in the struggles that come ahead, in the tests and the problems that the British state is actually going to face, they have no answer, and opportunities will arise for the independence movement to rise again, back to the stage that we saw in 2014, 2015, 16. This struggle is not over. Remember that we are involved in a revolution. We want to change the British state, we want to remove the British state and do the world a favour. But that is a process, it is not an event. There will be defeats, there will be times when things are not great, when it does look like the dark is descending. But remember, the darkness is always as most dark right before the dawn. We should never forget that. We're in for the long struggle, and our numbers will increase, and support for independence will increase for that 50%. But it's got to be on the basis of an activist movement from below. It must be a people's struggle. It must be a citizen struggle. It must be a struggle of the ordinary people, a civic movement to absolutely transform Scotland. Now, we've got a whole number of speakers today. This is an activist event today. We have people who are on the ground every day working for independence in various campaigns, both within the indie movement and without the indie movement. Groups like the Scottish Tenants Organisation, groups like Moray Palestine Solidarity Campaign, who we've been working closely with. And we should always remember that we're actually holding this event not just against the backdrop of troubled political situation in Britain, but in the situation, the backdrop of troubled situation in the Middle East. Tensions are escalating, and it looks like there might be war in the Middle East. In those circumstances, that puts bases like Lossiemouth and the people of Elgin and the entire area of Moray under direct threat. We are closer to nuclear conflict than we have ever been. And that is the reason why the struggle in the Middle East means something directly to the Scottish people. We should not just be expressing our disgust and a resolve to end that disgusting genocide by the Israeli Zionist state, but we should always remember as well that they are putting everybody in danger, right across Europe and right across the world. Now, over the last 2 or 3 weeks, we've been up here working with local activists, and I've met some wonderful people. And today's rally is actually going to be opened by an activist. One of the people that keeps our movement alive. Somebody who has went through the ups and downs of defeat and also of success. And I would like to give everybody a huge indie welcome to Fiona Campbell, an indie activist from the Cromdale area in the local area. Put your hands together for Fiona Campbell.
Hi everyone, welcome to Murray. I've done a dross-free Murray as well. Thanks for all coming today. There's no doubt that the Westminster election wasn't a good outcome for us in the indie movement. People thought that they'd be better trusting Labour with their vote rather than the Tories, which unfortunately means that we're probably all going to suffer for the next 5 years. I'm sure many of you here today will know Marie Milne, who's a dedicated independence activist. Marie's a very talented artist. She has supported many independence events over the years, both in person and with donations of art to support things. You'll also know that Marie's granddaughter and Mini Marie, the wonderful Star, who's been a regular at the marches and rallies since she was in a buggy, was involved in a serious road accident 8 weeks ago. She was hit by a car when she was trying to cross a busy road at Ardrossan, where the Drossy posse have been camping for years. It was touch and go whether Star would make it or not. She was kept alive at the scene by members of the public before she was airlifted to the Royal Hospital for Children in Glasgow. She went straight into emergency surgery and had to have part of her skull removed to allow her brain to swell with no restriction. We weren't sure if she was going to pull through or not, but I'm delighted to be able to tell you all today, with Marie and the family's blessing, that in true Star fashion, she's made small but mighty steps to come back to us. She's awake, saying short sentences, yes, and managing to move about with assistance. We're also seeing the return of the wee diva that we all know and love, the unstoppable Star. She's given kisses, cuddles and cheek. Last week, there was a day that 7 weeks ago we all feared would never happen. Star was allowed outside the hospital for a few minutes to be reunited with her beloved dog Tilly. I know you'll all appreciate what an emotional encounter that was. Even the pictures had us all in tears at the delight on all their faces, including Tilly. She has a long road to go, but slowly and surely we're seeing the return for a beautiful and feisty wee Bairn Star. So that leads me on to how we progress from here. As I said at the beginning, we're not in the strongest position as we would have hoped to be following the election. People are feeling disillusioned and fed up with the state of the country, and there is no doubt that voter apathy played a role in the result. Yet the turnout here today shows that there is still hope for an independent Scotland, which means that we've got work to do. The Westminster government think that they've been handed a blank cheque to do as they wish to our Scotland. Well, I'm here to say, no you don't! One of the first things they did was vote to keep the two-child benefit cap, or as it's known in Scotland, the rate clause, leaving 80,000 Scottish children living in poverty. This is despite the Scottish branch leader, Anna Sarwar, campaigning on a promise to scrap it. Again, once in power, they abandon their promises to do what they pledged and shuffle meekly away into the shadows after their lord and masters in England tell them to. If that doesn't tell the Scottish people that they don't have our best interests at heart, then I don't know what will. Anna Sarwar has since done a Boris Johnson and disappeared, probably to hide in a fridge away from the last limelight. Or maybe he's away living it up in his MSP salary while Scotland's children suffer, going hungry and being bored in the long summer holidays because their parents can't afford a holiday, or they're working to keep the roof over their heads and to pay the bills. This is just wrong in a country as rich in resources as Scotland. BP announced this week record profits yet again, but we're all facing a hike in our energy prices come October. Once again, this week, Rachel Reeves announced that she was going to means test the winter fuel allowance for pensioners, meaning yet another lifeline has been taken away from people that have worked all their lives and paid into the pension pot, yet can barely afford to eat, let alone heat their homes. This should not be happening. They're attacking the young and the old in the months since they were in government. It terrifies me to think what they're going to do next with their difficult choices. Yet all they do is blame their predecessors for the cuts instead of trying to find an alternative solution. They'd rather go after our bairns and our elderly folk. Why aren't they looking to recoup the 28 billion that was wasted on track and trace during the pandemic? Or start taxing the big companies that have been using legal loopholes to avoid paying their corporate taxes in Britain? That would go a long way to fill in the hole that their incompetent predecessors have left. So unfortunately, it looks like if people were hoping for change, they're sadly mistaken. Originally, I'd asked my good friend and fellow patriot Neil MacDonald to accompany me here delivering this speech. Unfortunately, Neil has COVID, so he's been unable to attend. He did ask if I could deliver a couple of his thoughts though, and here they are. Did you notice his name? Neil MacDonald. You know my name's Fiona Campbell. Anybody who has the most basic knowledge of Scottish history will be aware that the animosity between these two great Highland clans knew no bounds. Blood was spilled, lots of blood, and even today, some on either side won't acknowledge the other. Here though today, Neil and I were going to share the stage and demonstrate that if a Campbell and a MacDonald can come together, then anybody can. We all know that the indie movement can very easily divide into different factions and infighting breakings out, but this weakens us. Surely it's time for this to stop. We all have a common aim, we're all supposed to be shooting in the same direction. The 2026 elections are going to make or break us. We all want Scottish independence. Secondly, has anybody watched the new Scotland channel on YouTube? Neil tells me he watched a programme on there called Scotland in Space. The programme went into detail about how Scotland is leading centre in Europe in the space industry, despite only being given 15% of the available funding from Westminster. They keep 85% of the budget, yet lag years behind in research and development. Industry experts tell us how Scotland could thrive even more if more funding was available. And therein lies the solution. An independent Scotland funding exciting sections of newly emerging industries to the appropriate level. Neil said what struck him was how innovative Scots are and how much we're being held back by Westminster and how little of this you hear in the mainstream unionist-dominated GB media. We need independence. Finally, look about you. How many kilts can you see? Did you know that 278 years ago this week, the Acts of Proscription were passed, outlawing the wearing of kilts, among other things? This act wasn't repealed until 1782. 278 years ago, all those wearing kilts would have been liable to transportation to the West Indies, Australia, or the Americas. We weren't even allowed to wear kilts for 36 years without the permission of the British establishment. We have long been under the heel of the UK jackboot. It's time to get up, stand proud and forge ahead in our own future. So the way I see it is we have one chance and one chance only. We all need to get together to send a clear message to our various Independence Party leaders. In 2026 we have to lock the Unionists out of Holyrood, otherwise we're in real danger of losing our Parliament and the MSPs who do care about the people of Scotland. We have to put personal clashes aside and work together for the sake of our bairns' futures. I spoke about my wee pal Star at the beginning, a child that wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for our wonderful Scottish NHS. There's thousands of other children whose futures depend on us working together over the next 2 years, beginning now. We have to find a way forward as one independence movement, regardless of what party you belong to, or even if you don't belong to one. Yes, groups are non-party affiliated, so get involved with your local one. If you don't have a local one, why don't you set one up? Do a street stall once a month if you're confident talking to people. If not, there's always the social media side of things that will help raise our profile across Scotland. There's events on all over the country every weekend. You can go and stand on a bridge with a saltire to be visible, attend a march or rally, or organise your own independence event. We have to show them we're not going anywhere. They might think that they've gotten one over on us, but we're much smarter than they give us credit for. There's a wealth of talent right now across Scotland that we can tap into to get our campaign moving now. Because Scotland's bairns and our elderly population need to stand up and fight for them, as well as the weak and disabled people in our communities. People tell me all the time when they visit Scotland, they're amazed by how kind and caring Scotland's folk are. I always tell them that's what Scotland is. We're sovereign, we're compassionate and proud, but most of all, we're Scottish. So let's send a message to the new government in Westminster that they might think that they've won, but we're just getting started. A few years ago, there was an attempted terrorist attack at Glasgow Airport. Fortunately, it was thwarted by some brave people. Afterwards, when he was being interviewed, a baggage handler named John Smeaton said, "This is our Glasgow, we'll just say about you." Well, I'm here to say, Westminster, if you're going to come to Scotland and start attacking our bairns and our pensioners, you're damn right we're going to say about you. Because we believe in our beautiful country and our future, where we get the governments we vote for, where we don't have English MPs voting on what's right for us. I just finished. So please, can we pull together and do what's right by our bairns? Let's shut the unionists out of Holyrood. We all want and believe Scotland will be independent, or you wouldn't be here today. So to the independence leaders, we're right here waiting to start. Let's get Scotland united now, and Max a yes.
Yes! Great stuff there, Fiona. I mean, this issue about unity is very important, and all under one banner. We try and do what it says on the tin. We try and have all the different elements of the independence movement represented at our rallies, and I'm very proud to say we've got both ALPA and SNP representation here today, speaking on behalf of their parties. But before we actually hear from Steve Chisholm from the ALPA party, a very, very important announcement from Ian Grant from the Scottish Independence Foundation. He's going to ask you to reach deep in your pockets, and I hope you reciprocate. Thanks.
Hello everybody, I'm Ian Grant, Scottish Independence Foundation, SIF. We support, all under one banner, marches. We support films from Leslie Riddoch. We give money to local groups, the length and breadth of the Scotland. I think we've given some stuff to Elgin in the past, and we've given money to the Western Isles and to Peterhead and wherever. If we're going to win independence, we have to be funded, and to have these marches, we need a sound system, we need stages and so on, and SIF supports this. But money is a bit difficult to come by at the moment, because there's an element of pessimism which has to be driven out, and people are perhaps a little bit less willing to part with their money. There are various people wandering around here with buckets, and there's also at my table just to the left there's some more buckets, and nobody comes to speak to you. And just contribute what you can. It will be split between SIF itself, which will be supporting the Edinburgh rally in a month's time, and some of that will also go to the local yes groups. So I'd ask you to help with that. Just one other thing, I'm also chair of the Independence Forum, which is a group of yes groups nationally and locally, and we're having a convention in Edinburgh on St Andrew's Day. This is essentially to get people talking. We're speaking to other yes groups, including Believe in Scotland, and we hope to have a very effective conference which deals with major subjects, because we lost in 20 2014, not because we didn't have the people with us, not really because of the cause. We lost because people did not have confidence in the leaders of the independence movement that we would deliver Scotland. So we now have to build up. So we now have to build up our plan, our knowledge and everything else, so that we absolutely convince everybody in this country that we can be successful and independent. But anyway, thanks.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, mate. We were cheated. We were ahead 5 days before the poll, and then the entire British mainstream media, along with all the British political establishment, delivered the vow. You know, you can have everything that you want with independence. With independence, just vote no, and that's basically. So you're absolutely bang on. So our next speaker is Steve Chisholm, and he was the prospective parliamentary candidate in Caithness, Sutherland and Easter Ross. So put your hands together and give a big indie welcome for Steve Chisholm.
Good afternoon, everyone. Can I start by thanking each and every one of you for turning up and showing your solidarity today. Can also, when I've got this opportunity, thank our earlier speaker, Fiona Campbell. She is my election agent and a harder working, more committed activist you couldn't hope to have as an election agent. So a big thank you to Fiona. You know, there may be some disappointment and an element of demoralisation across our movement after the general election result. But I'm here with many others to say those feelings are misplaced, because the time for independence is now, and our nation's need for self-determination, it's never been greater. So the Labour Party campaigned on a promise of change, but already, just weeks into government, have shown they're simply delivering more of the same. Friends, austerity is going nowhere. They're continuing with their Tory policies like the two-child benefit cap, and they've now announced scrapping winter fuel payments for millions of pensioners. And pensioners across the Highlands and North East know all too well the reality of our cold, brutally harsh winters. Why is it that energy bills here cost more than anywhere else in the UK, despite ours being a region that is emerging as the beating heart of a new renewable energy industry? The number of pensioners and families living in fuel poverty and those in extreme fuel poverty is higher here proportionally than anywhere else in the country, and it's simply perverse that we have fuel poor Scots in an energy rich nation. Just look across our land. We have land off our shores. You'll see turbines after turbines after turbines producing clean renewable energy, and we mustn't make the same mistake as we did with oil and gas. Profits generated here in Scotland, siphoned off by London Treasury, fattening the pockets of international capital. So we must have a publicly owned energy company that ensures Scotland's natural resources are put to the benefit of the Scottish people, that we Scots get cheaper energy, that Scottish workers get the manufacturing jobs, and our places and our communities are compensated for the part they play in harnessing our abundance of natural resource. Nothing, absolutely nothing, makes the case for Scottish independence more than this energy crisis. You know, London's political parties, they gleefully believe that the general election marked an end to our independence movement. So let's take a moment. Feel inside your heart. Take a look around you at this gathering today. Look into the eyes of the people nearest you. Mark my words, everyone here, more than half of Scotland with us, believes in independence. So when I say to them and other parties down south, your complacency and your arrogance is going to be your own undoing. We need change, real change, not the change promised by Westminster Labour during an election, but change that benefits the people of Scotland. We all know that the real change we seek, though, can only come with independence. So today the flame of self-determination flickers with renewed vigour. It's a flame that cannot, and it will not, be extinguished by fear, by doubt, or any uncertainty. It can't be dulled by the ignorance of a parliament in London, because it's a flame that ignites hope of a better tomorrow, a tomorrow built on the principles of democracy, equality and justice for all, a tomorrow that promises a better future for our children and for generations to come, a tomorrow built on the principle of a fairer Scotland. As a proud Highlander, I was honoured to stand as the Alpa candidate at the recent general election, and I did so because Alpa put forward a bold vision for the Highlands via this Highland Manifesto. It was the first of its kind in any political party in this country. It wasn't merely a collection of policies, it was a declaration of our commitment to securing a brighter, more equitable future for our communities.
And over the coming months, through local consultation, we'll continue to refine it, because no one understands our needs better than those who live and work there. That's why I'm delighted to confirm here today that I will be seeking nomination to stand for the Alpa Party at the 2026 Scottish parliamentary elections, and I'm sure many others across the Highlands and North East will be stepping forward with me to carry the Alpa standard alongside. I do so because independence is a necessary step to transform the Highlands. Depopulation, underinvestment and inequality have plagued our region for far too long, and with independence we can reverse that economic decline, focus on what's best for our communities and deliver a brighter, more prosperous future. But that Highland Manifesto can go much further, providing a blueprint for further regional manifestos across Scotland's 8 electoral regions in 2026. While many of our problems are indeed national, it would be foolish to neglect that each region of Scotland faces its own unique challenges that require a bespoke remedy. The days of a one-size-fits-all approach to policy making, I believe, are coming to an end across Scotland, and we can deliver together a message of hope uniquely tailored to the needs of each and every region. The call for Scottish self-determination is not merely about borders or flags. It's not about one person. It's not about any one political party, and it's absolutely not a cause driven by hate. It's about empowerment. It's about the right of the Scottish people to shape our own future, to forge our own path, and to chart our own destiny. That referendum boat, it sailed, just like the Prime Ministers who came before him. Keir Starmer will not grant Scotland a second referendum on independence. We as a movement, all of us, must revert back to what the position of the national movement was prior to devolution. That is, each and every election must be used to seek a mandate to declare independence. So the next Holyrood election in 26 must be the independence election. For those of you here today, members of the SNP, when you return to your branches, please take that message back with you, because if we, the activists, can march all under one banner, then the parties we are a member of can unite behind that central message. By turning the 2026 Holyrood election into the independence election, we can end this perversity of fuel poverty in our land of plenty. We can return power to the people and build a sustainable future for generations to come. Activists, we and those like us hold the future of a Scotland in our own hands. So let's go from here today, upbeat, united in purpose, committed to working together. And activists, fellow members, let's turn that dream into a reality. Thank you for listening.
Great stuff. Well, our next speaker, but before I actually introduce him, I think we should give a big shout out to the Yes Biters. They delivered the goods and brought the thunder again. Yeah, absolutely. Never disappointed. We're actually going to hear from them. I actually asked them if they wanted to speak and they said no, but they're speaking now. They have things to say.
So our next speaker is actually an SNP councillor from Forest. Give a big indie welcome to Scott Lawrence. Fit like Elgin. I am an SNP councillor here in Murray. I am an independent supporter. I am, like many of you, always hopeful but increasingly frustrated. 10 years ago I was an indie supporting postie in Forest, sharing social media posts and encouraging other people to think about independence. 7 years ago I went to my first Yes Group meeting where I didn't have the confidence to ask the questions I wanted to. 5 years ago I joined my local SNP branch to become more politically proactive, and 2 years ago I found myself standing for election as a local councillor with no political experience, but nonetheless winning my seat and representing my hometown of Forest and the SNP for the last 2 years in Murray Council. Being a local councillor, believe it or not, is hard work, but it has also afforded me some amazing opportunities, like being here today, standing in front of you, speaking about independence. Now that story is one of building confidence, and today I'd like to talk to you all about a country that perhaps lacks a bit of confidence. Confidence in its own identity out with the UK. Confidence in what it stands for. Confidence to survive by itself. But most importantly, I want to speak about what we can do to help that country. We are all here because we believe in sovereign democratic countries making their own decisions. We are all here because we believe in countries having confidence in themselves, confidence in their people, and taking responsibility for creating their own future. We believe in a better future out with the UK. So today, I am asking for your help to convince people of what we already know. We know that a country with a proud heritage can become an independent country. We know that a country with its own parliament can become an independent country. And we know that a country with its own resources can become an independent country. So why don't some people believe that? Is it because of a confused national identity? Is it a lack of confidence, or is it a lack of self-belief? That's where we all can help. Help to build their belief, their confidence, by having conversations with those people, family, friends, colleagues. Really build their confidence and let them know that their country can stand on its own 2 feet. We can help them believe themselves, believe in their country and each other. So today, I wanted to speak directly to those who don't believe in their own country's ability to stand on its own 2 feet, in their own country's ability to survive and thrive without relying on other countries' resources. I wanted to tell them that I believe, that we believe, that one day England can become an independent country. They really can. I believe it. Just a little bit of self-belief, that's all they need. Now, I can see some doubt out there. And there's so many questions for an independent England to answer. How will a country like that survive out there by themselves? What currency will they use? What will happen to all their TV stations? What will happen to the banks? Will they all run away from London? What will happen when our oil runs out? What about the pensioners? How will they manage to trade with other countries? How will they defend themselves? They'll have to raise taxes. What currency? The pensions, banks. What will they do? How could they possibly survive by themselves? Too small, perhaps too stupid.
to survive out with the UK? Well, worry not, my English friends, because I, and indeed we, are here to offer hope, because all those things have been said of an independent Scotland, and all of them debunked. And all those questions have already been answered by the 60+ countries that have gained independence from the UK, all of whom function as normal, independent countries, none of whom who have ever regretted their independence from the UK. Because when it comes down to it, there is only one real reason to seek independence, and that is to allow the people of any country to make its own decisions. Just like Scotland, England is perfectly capable of being a normal, functioning, independent country. And I, hopefully we, support any country's right to self-determination, including England. Now, I hope my slightly sarcastic streak didn't mask the point that I'm trying to make. The way we define and think of Scotland, England, Wales, Northern Ireland, and most importantly, the UK matters. It is important to disentangle all these identities and realise it's not just Scotland that is questioning the effectiveness and the relevance of the UK in 2024. There will be opportunities ahead that we can and should grasp. And in my opinion, with a mandate for a referendum, some leverage to negotiate a referendum, and the support in place to win a referendum, we can gain our independence. Now, how and when these things align is another discussion for another time perhaps, one I'm happy to engage in any time. But we can get these things, we will get these things, and we must get these things by working together and prioritising our independence. Thanks for listening to me. Stay strong, keep fighting. Thank you.
Great contribution there for Scott. Now, we've actually got a much anticipated call in for Yes Biters. He just wants to make a wee brief statement in a personal capacity.
Good afternoon, my fellow Severn Scots. My name is Colin Mackey, and yes, I am a proud Yes Biter. I have a statement here that a couple of my friends and I wrote. I don't represent anyone but myself and the 2.25 million sovereign Scots. This is a note to the SNP and AUOB. Resolution for Scottish independence. It's time to unite the sovereign people of Scotland. The people of Scotland have had enough delay. 54% of Scots will vote for independence tomorrow if given an opportunity. It's time we create that opportunity. We must unite the parties of independence and unite the sovereign people of Scotland behind that simple idea in that a vote for SNP 1 or ALBA 2 is a vote to dissolve the Union, not for anything else. It's time to enforce our rights to self-determination and to give agency to the will of the sovereign people of Scotland. We are sovereign, not slaves. It's time the people of Scotland knew with absolute clarity that at this next Holyrood election that we, the sovereign people of Scotland, are voting to, in no uncertain terms, to dissolve the 1707 Treaty of Union. We in SNP and ALBA will contest this next Holyrood election in a single issue manifesto for dissolution of the 1707 Treaty of Union. The election, upon winning a simple majority of both seats and voters, SNP and ALBA, and in combination with other single issue dissolution candidates, will dissolve the Treaty of Union and reconstitute the nation of Scotland once again as an independent, self-determinant state. To summarise, and this is the resolution you shall be following. To summarise, a vote for SNP and ALBA is a vote to dissolve the Union. Period. Thank you for your time. 2026, independence, what do we want? 2026. Go for it. Thank you.
Brilliant. Thanks very much for that, Colin.
Our next, we're going to actually have a music break now, and I was listening to him in the sound check, and you're in for a real treat. It's a local act, Gordon Strathday, so put your hands together for Gordon Strathday. Cheers.
Good afternoon, folks. This is a song called The Struggle. There was a patriot, a vibrant some would say. He also was a gentleman and loved in every way. Tragedy and tragedy, his story must be told. This loyal Scot, he lost the Lord and all for North Sea gold. Born and bred in Westeros, a lawyer he became. Speeches rallying to the cause, gave young Willie fame. Such a charming witty lad, it was so hard to find. His wit and grace, impressive praise, so such a brilliant mind. Oh, and Sir lived a healing man, his name was Willie McCrae. He fought for Scotland's freedom until his dying day. He fought for independence, fought for you and me. Remember Willie McCrae, my boys are free, you'll never be. Remember Willie McCrae, my boys are free, you'll never be. And on his way to Dormy, Willie's form was fine. His final love story and you've got the maddest time. We sinister surveyor left at every turn. He didn't know his time was so, and alas he couldn't spurn. Now just a few hours later, we Willie nearly dead. Found just past Fort William, 3 gunshots to his head. So this genius took his life, well that's what they say. Aye, a clever man indeed as he threw his gun away. Oh, and Sir lived a healing man, his name was Willie McCrae. He fought for Scotland's freedom until his dying day. He fought for independence, fought for you and me. Remember Willie McCrae, my boys are free, you'll never be. Remember Willie McCrae, my boys are free, you'll never be. As Willie Healy died in his stricken car, his papers some were missing, or scattered near and far. His thoughts of darker forces, had they all come true? Stop me stride or suicide, I'll leave that up to you. Now you have a story of a Scotsman and his land. The fire in Willie's belly, I some don't understand. But rest assured, my healing lad, we every breaking dawn, until we see our country free, the struggle it goes on. Oh, and Sir lived a healing man, his name was Willie McCrae. He fought for Scotland's freedom until his dying day. He fought for independence, fought for you and me. Remember Willie McCrae, my boys, free you'll never be. Remember Willie McCrae, my boys are free, you'll never be. Remember Willie McCrae, my boys are free, you'll never be. Thank you very much. Thank you. It's another song I wrote a couple of years now, and I've had to change some of the words in it, but tired of being pushed around, fed up of being treated like the rubbish on the ground. Tories, you fascist vermin, enough of your tiring sermon. Don't want to be part of this union. Corruption and greed, a poisonous fusion. We have shown how different we are. Our country turned yellow, it shines like a star. Scotland demands to be free. Westminster policies are foreign today. Rise up again and be bold, like the martyrs in Wallace and Bruce that we hold. I'll fight for the right youths of to live a life free of imperialists who govern, no longer be slaves of their system and this racist right-wing deception. Scotland demands to be free. Westminster policies are foreign today. Rise up again and be bold, like the martyrs in Wallace and Bruce that we all. Scotland demands to be free. Westminster policies are foreign today. Rise up again and be bold, like the martyrs in Wallace and Bruce that we hold. Thank you very much. Cheers. Here's one now. When I wake up, when I know I'm gonna be the man who wakes up next to you. And when I go out, when I know I'm gonna be the man who's going out with you. And when I hear when I know I'm gonna be the man who's havering with you. And when I get drunk, well I know I'm gonna be the man who's getting done with you. Well I would walk 500 miles and I would walk 500 more just to be the man who walks 1,000 miles to fall down at your door. When I work it, well I know I'm gonna be the man who's working hard for you. And when the money comes in for the work I do, I'll send almost every penny over you. And when I go out, well I know I'm gonna be the man who's going out with you. And when I have well I know I'm gonna be the man who's havering with you. Well I would walk 500 miles and I would walk 500 more just to be the man who walks 1,000 miles to fall down at your door. Devil, devil, na 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 na. Devil, devil, na 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 na. When I'm lonely, when I know I'm gonna be the man who's lonely without you. And when I go out, well I know I'm gonna be the man who's going out with you. And when I get drunk, well I know I'm gonna be the man who's getting drunk with you. And when I have well I know I'm gonna be the man who's shivering with you. Well I would walk 500 miles and I would walk 500 more just to be the man who walks 1,000 miles to fall down at your door. Devil, devil, na na na.
excellent stuff. Our next speaker is Nahed Gadala from the Murray Palestine Solidarity Campaign. But before she comes on stage, I'd just like to make a couple of announcements. Anybody that's actually in Elgin tonight is invited along to the Elgin Yes Ceilidh, which will be at Elgin City FC Social Club, and you'll be able to pay at the door. It's only £8, and I would really urge people to actually go along. I think it's going to be a good night. So if you've not got tickets, you can actually pay on the door as well. I think it's fair around about 8 o'clock that it's actually starting. So, you know, I'd urge everybody to pick come along tonight and continue the party into the wee small hours. Another announcement: the police estimate for the size of the march today was 600. So, as is traditional, we all under one banner. We always add a wee bit more onto the police estimate. So they're saying between 600 and 700. So I think that's a great result. You know, right in the middle of the summer holidays, everybody's away at festivals and things like that. Everybody's away on holiday. I think Elgin's done themselves proud today, and I think you should. And it isn't over yet. You're absolutely right. So I would like to actually introduce the next speaker. It's been my pleasure to actually work alongside Nahed and the rest of the people in the Murray RAF Lossiemouth for the development of reconnaissance drones that have actually been used to target civilians in the Gaza genocide. And it was an absolute pleasure. I must say that when we went along to that protest, we can learn an awful lot for the Palestine Solidarity Campaign and the way that they actually campaign. Because it's not just about rallies, we're well aware of that. It's also about direct action. And our message is, get the British bases out of Scotland. There is no need for them. Absolutely no need whatsoever. So I'd just like to hand over now to Nahed. Put your hands together and give a big indie welcome to Nahed Gadala from the Murray Palestine Solidarity Campaign. Thanks.
I'm a bit shorter than that. Thank you so much for inviting us here today. It gives us a voice and a connection with the freedom of Scotland, just as the freedom of Palestine. So, we are from the Scottish Palestinian Solidarity Campaign in Moray, and we do not want Scotland tarnished with the atrocities and the complicity of genocide and the extermination of the Palestinian people in their own land. We do not want that. Just as we want self-determination for Scotland, we want self-determination for the people of Palestine. They deserve it. We were founded in the year 2000 in response to a call from the people of Palestine to boycott, divest and sanction Israel until Israel adheres to international law. This is what they've asked us to do, and as I'm sure you understand the right to self-determination of any nation, we have to respond to their call. Their aim is clear. It is for justice, equality, dignity and the self-determination and under international law, something they have been brutally denied for the past 75 years. In 1948, 750,000 people were forcibly displaced to make way for Israel. 506 villages were erased and thousands of Palestinians murdered. The Scottish people understand historically what displacement means. And now these same refugees and their descendants are in Gaza, an area 25 miles long by 5 miles wide, illegally held captive by, according to the International Criminal Court, the ruling criminal apartheid settler colonial project known as Israel. And today we're in mourning. We're in mourning for the estimated 186,000 men, women, children and babies who have been murdered. According to murdered twice the amount of human beings that live in the whole of Moray. More than that. And I haven't even started with the tens of thousands of people under rubble, injured in the most vile of ways, burned, dismembered, and now starving. I will not insult your intelligence by neutralizing the horrors, the obscenities that we are witnessing before our very eyes. Soldiers unleashing trained dogs to maul to death, disabled and the elderly. The 6-year-old little girl, Hind, trapped in a car with her dead family, and when the ambulance finally got military clearance to rescue them, it was blown up. And the report showed 355 bullets peppered into Hind and the car she was calling from. Men, women are being raped in custody, and this is not hidden. The soldiers are boasting about it, and in the Israeli parliament, the ministers and MPs have openly justified their actions, saying that rape is fine, it's okay, anything goes, anything. How dangerous is that in this world? When Netanyahu spewed his vile words before Congress, he demanded, "Give us the tools and we will finish the job." And they gave him 50 standing ovations. This is a man charged with war criminals, and he goes about his business with impunity. What's more, and the crux of the matter, the UK government is actively complicit with these atrocities. While Scotland was calling for an immediate ceasefire back in October, both Sunak and Starmer agreed that Israel had the right to turn off water to 2.4 million people. A war crime of collective punishment. And now children and babies are dying of starvation and dehydration. Drones from the RAF Lossiemouth were active when Israel forcibly dropped, when their forces dropped 2,000-pound bombs on Jabalia refugee camp, mutilating human beings in a so-called safe zone. A 2,000-pound bomb creates a crater 40 feet deep, and the damage spreads for 400 meters. Cluster bombs, white phosphorus, all illegal, have also been used. White phosphorus burns to the core, it burns to the bone, and it reignites on people's flesh. It reignites. Israel has dropped more explosives in Gaza than Hiroshima and Nagasaki put together. 70% of homes, 80% of schools, 90% of hospitals, 100% of universities destroyed. The UK government continues to grant licenses and exports arms to Israel. To put it in context, they suspended within a week such deals with Russia. And by contrast, the Scottish government immediately called for a suspension, but we were overruled by Westminster, as we were overruled when we called for the severely injured children without arms and legs, to receive medical care here in Scotland. We were overruled by Westminster. Our current campaigns are targeting supermarkets and all Israeli agricultural goods grown in the illegal settlements, which the International Criminal Court have ruled need to be dismantled and the land returned to the Palestinian people with immediate effect. Check the country of origin. If it's not displayed, ask a member of staff. Tell them why. Rotting vegetables on a shop floor make no profits for shareholders, and money is what counts. Children and babies dying doesn't. We live in a very sick society. The other main campaign is Barclays Bank, who hold over 2 billion shares and provide 6.1 billion in loans and underwriting to 9 companies whose weapons, components and military technology are being used in Israel, by their attacks on Palestinians. Companies such as Dynamic and Albert Systems. The call is to end their ties with companies that are arming Israel. This is not a palatable subject, but the image of a father holding his headless child to the heavens, his face contorted in silent screams, midst a background of roaring flames. Who else but you? And I call out as loud as we can, who else but you and I, for equality, self-determination for the people of Palestine. Say it to yourself, not in my name. I will not be silenced, and take action, however small. Boycott, divest and sanction in solidarity for independence. Thank you very much. Thank you. These guys are dressed as the captives are dressed, and have been found murdered in mass graves. It's a reality.
Thanks. Well, it's probably fitting that that's probably one of the most powerful addresses we've heard for some time. There is an emergency in Gaza, and through the disgusting barbarity of the Israeli state, they're not just putting the entire region under threat, they're putting the entire world. But, you know, one of the things that strikes me about the Gaza situation and why we should act is, if we think back to the 30s and the 40s, our great-grandparents didn't really have the opportunity to protest against the Holocaust. We have the opportunity to stop this Holocaust dead in its tracks, and it is a Holocaust. 186,000 people and counting. So for that reason, we should support the Gazans, because international solidarity with their struggle is what our entire movement underpins our entire movement. And without that international solidarity, we will be nothing. So, you know, Viva Palestinia.
The river to the sea.
From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. Just a quick announcement before our next speaker, and it's from Mike Fennick, and it's from the Sovereign Scots. Elgin will sign your declaration as a sovereign Scot. Your declaration to end the Union and regain Scotland's independence. Mike Fennick says it takes just 20 seconds to sign. Mike's here with blank declarations. Will you spare him 20 seconds for independence for Scotland? And he's just over there. Or in fact, he's standing filming me. And he's going to shout at me because I didn't announce this a bit earlier when there was a few more out here. But there you go. So Mike's also doing a national tour, by the way. He'll be up in Dundee. So I'm looking forward to, you know, a visit for Mike and his enthusiasm for the cause, you know, transmitting it to us all up there in Dundee. So, you know, our next speaker needs no introduction, you know, to audiences at our events. He's a great friend and comrade of the All Under One banner. It's Pat Lee from Salvo. Put your hands together for Pat.
Good afternoon, Elgin. Thanks for the opportunity to be here today. Yes, we were all despondent on the results of the political race last month, but were we Well, with that, do a wee speech from a good friend of mine, Sarah Salyers of Salvo and Liberation.Scot. All that's wrong, at the heart of the political, economic and social disaster unfolding around us, is a broken political system. Anglo-Norman feudalism in modern clothing has given us a despotic and unaccountable government, political corruption, cronyism, incompetence, privilege with impunity for a wealthy, powerful elite, government violation of the rule of law, and government betrayal of public trust. Under this despotic system, we, the people, have no guarantee whatsoever of our public rights, interests or needs, even those that are enshrined in law, and we have no mechanism for redress. That is why we can fairly describe this supposed democracy as despotism. We may vote for a different party every 5 years, but this is no more than a different flavour of poison. There is no genuine public input on policies that massively impact on the lives of millions, as shown by COVID, privatisation of the NHS, and once publicly owned utilities. And haven't we just seen it with the change of government, the change of colour of tie, in the removal of the winter heat allowance? Instead, government policies are based on information provided by a tiny self-selecting special interests. The information is received by an even tinier number of elected politicians and political appointees. Behind closed doors, critically important deals and decisions are based on advocacy and information from minority interests, not the majority. And all too often to the detriment of the many. The biggest resource of all, the talents, skills, experience, knowledge and imagination which resides in the population at large, is ignored. Well, there's a way out of this. And we at Salvo and Liberation.Scot have that way out. Let me just find something here. It's in my notes, I'm in the wrong app. There we are. Who are Salvo? And what do they intend to do with Liberation.Scot? Liberation Scotland was launched by the campaigning group Salvo, now the campaigning arm of Scotland's liberation movement, on September the 1st, 2022. It was established in response to the physical, political, cultural genocide and oppression inflicted on this nation of Scotland and the extinction of all legal and political routes to self-determination, under the pretense of its voluntary partnership within the self-styled United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland. Liberation Scotland was launched. Liberation Scotland was established in response to the... I've read that already. That's a repeat. The reason for the proposed change... It was inaugurated with the public declaration of its manifesto in the Edinburgh Proclamation, and seeks to address, publicise and obtain restitution for the grievous crimes committed against this nation of Scotland by the State of England. Because believe it or not, folks, we are not in a union. We are ruled by the English Parliament under the guise of an equal partnership, which is a total lie. Well, most of liberation movement have sought decolonisation through armed struggle and or a political process where they look to become a party of government. Liberation Scotland does not seek decolonisation through either route. Liberation Scotland is a peaceful liberation movement with no ambitions to form a political party or government. Instead, it is committed to the decolonisation of the nation and people of Scotland through the restoration of our standing constitutional and international rights. If you agree to this, and we can use this to free ourselves, we are in the process of approaching the UN in the very near future. We're not going to approach Westminster. We're not going to ask permission. We're going straight to the top of international law. We have engaged the practices of a KC, and we are putting together the legal argument to present to the UN. If you agree to take control of this matter yourself, forget the politicians, we'll give them the answer and they can then go ahead and work on our behalf. Not theirs, ours, under our instruction, for us and not them. It's time to change the narrative. If you agree with that, check out salvo.scot and liberation.scot and join us and let the people guide the politicians. We have a stall here, just the second stall up from us here, the Salvo stall. If you want to come and talk to me, I'll stand here for the next hour if need be. Thanks for your ear, thanks for being here, and thanks for keeping the campaign going. Saralba Gubra!
That's a great speech for Pat. This whole issue about the decolonisation programme of the UN, it's something I've been looking at as well, trying to familiarise myself with it. It's quite clear that we're a colony, and if we're a colony, then that means we are actually covered by the UN decolonisation programme. And if you actually look at that, it makes very, very interesting reading in terms of any possible referendum that might come up in the future. The idea that we're giving votes on a referendum to people who actually are citizens of the country that we're attempting to break free from is a fundamental question. It arose in 2014, I'm sure it will arise again. But we should basically keep a weather eye on what Salvo are doing with regards to their discussions with the UN, because this could be critical. Now, our next speaker is somebody that I've known for quite a few years. I was actually involved in the Scottish Tenants Organisation with him, but more years ago than I actually care to remember. And he also played a huge role, a largely unknown role to a large extent, during the 2014 independence referendum, where he was actually one of the guiding spirits that was pushing the whole importance of registration and the registration schemes. And the registration campaign in 2014, when that kicked in, that's what brought our campaign alive. It's what brought it on from out of the TV studios and from the mainstream media and onto the streets. And he was absolutely and utterly instrumental in pushing that inside the Indian movement. We took our cue from him in Dundee, and the success that we had with that registration campaign in Dundee made its mark even on Alex Salmond, who also always talks about his experiences during the registration campaign. Now, Nick has returned to the STO amongst many other campaigns that he's actually involved in. He is one of the, I would say, most impressive activists I've met within the movement. So put your hands together for Nick Jury from the Winford Tenants Organisation, and speaking on behalf of the Scottish Tenants Organisation.
Thanks, Tony. That's a hard act to follow. So, just a wee bit of context. The Scottish Tenants Organisation was founded by mothers who were facing eviction during the First World War, and they got together and they they fought off the bailiffs, they fought off the sheriff officers, and they founded an organisation that represented working class people in communities across the country. That organisation transformed itself over a number of years and became a federation of tenants and residents associations. And during the last Labour administration at Holyrood, there was an attempt to destroy the Scottish Tenants Organisation because it opposed the privatisation and demolition of public housing. Now, we are living in the context of the privatisation and demolition of public housing. There's been 66,000 public homes demolished in Scotland since the advent of the Scottish Parliament. That is at least one of the drivers of the housing crisis. So about 18 months ago, the STO, the remainder of the STO, got together and became a union once more. So we're a union across the country with branches focusing on housing schemes. So obviously all the issues that come to the fore, everything from community issues to housing, we take it all together. But some of the context for our organisation is this massive mammoth housing crisis that we have at the moment. There are over 14,000 bairns who are homeless in this country, and it doesn't matter what council area you live in, what town you live in. The housing crisis is there, causing a great deal of pain and suffering for people, and it's escalating. And further context to that is, of course, that we had a cut to the housing budget of 27%. So you see around Europe, housing is a big issue being pushed by the far right. Now, we only need to look down south to see the effect of the far right with these riots that have been taking place over the past few days, to see the danger, because we have many of the same social problems. So that's one of the reasons that the STO is focusing on working class communities and trying to fight the government to get that housing budget restored. But I look at the election result that we had, and I wasn't at all surprised by it. One of the schemes that we'd been canvassing and working in, one of the ballot boxes had a return of 10%. Only 10% of the electors who are on the register. This is people with a passport. People who could have voted. Only 10% voted in this community where we were doing some work. And we had independence in 2014 as a lifeboat to restore the cradle to grave welfare state that's been ripped up in favour of a monstrous market society. And what we see is a total lack of hope. I heard the phrase apathy earlier. I don't really agree. I don't think apathy is what's happening. I think that, unfortunately, because of the way that politicians work, and I'm a politician as well, so I'm not denigrating politicians, but we can't lippen on politicians to change social issues. That has to come from the base. This organisation is a good example of that, but we need to have organisations at the base that influence power, because power is being influenced constantly by organised money. And there are only two forces in society that can change anything: organised money and organised people. And when we look at the polls, the 50% or so for independence, we know that we will never be granted a referendum in that context. It's never going to happen. So it's been mentioned a couple of times before on the stage today about the 2026 election being pivotal for our movement. But let's suppose, let's have the blue sky thinking to say we will succeed. We will have an independence mandate. We will convince the SNP, for example, to say that this vote is a vote to abolish the union. And we get that supermajority in the Parliament. What then? We will still need to have the tactics of pressure, people power tactics, direct action to force through that agenda. Now, in the STO, that's all we do. We use the power of demonstration, public action, direct action, and that's how we've won and negotiated a range of different things. So I think, looking forward, we need to think of ourselves as a movement that's prepared to take public action, prepared to because we need to build that base. And movements which don't get progress start to fizzle out. And progress can be won incrementally through demands. Power concedes nothing without a demand. And if the demand is recognise this election, we will have to build for that. So I'm going to end on that note.
Thanks, Nick. He's doing marvellous work with the Win for Tenants organisation. Again, it's something that we can take a lot of lessons with in terms of day-to-day campaigning work.
Now, what we're going to have now is a short musical interlude. It is the Graham Brown band, minus the band, and Graham's going to be giving us 2 or 3 numbers, or 3 numbers. So put your hands together and give a big indie welcome all the way to Dundee, the marvellous Graham Brown.
Thank you very much, guys. Just give me 2 or 3 minutes to set up, thanks.
Made it? Got a check? That's how we feel every time we go to an event.
Yeah, we were going to come see yesterday morning, but we ended up getting there like riders and monsters.
Is that right? What's up, Al? How much I'm off ski?
It is a square, isn't it? It's a big square.
Go, go.
You needing any backing dancers? Me and Brian's here.
We'll always do.
Just Brian.
I like how she's nominating you.
What about the door, eh?
Just waiting on the rest of the band.
What do I do with the terrible? That's it done. Right.
We want a place to get it line. Hello, Elgin. Oh, hello, what's left of Elgin? Thank you very much for staying, guys. That means the world to me. After doing this for 15 years, I'm used to it. Okay, since someone asked for this song, I'm going to sing it. Union man said that we can't have a nation to hold. Union man said that we can't have our own pot of gold. Union man said that it's Okay, wait a minute, I'm getting some technical. Union man said that you'll starve if you're old. Union man said we can't have a nation to hold. Union man said you'll be out in the cold and the dark. Union man said that your land has no heart. Union man said that it's all in the past. Union man, step aside, you had your chance. Let's hear you sing. So watch us rise into the sky. See the passion for freedom in our eyes. We were lost in the lies. Scotland calls, so watch us rise. Labour and Tory men tell us that we are to lead, as they celebrate victory won by the man on TV. There's too many questions and too many answers, you see. She points to your stories and lies by the BBC. I could see the road ahead, we're so close. We've travelled so far, this time everyone knows. We must say thanks to the ones who fought for this land. Freedom for me and you, and all its land. So watch us rise into the sky. See the passion for freedom in our eyes. We were lost in the lies. Scotland calls, so watch us rise. Stand in the square, show us you care, fly your flags. If you're in Volvo to join us, you won't be the last. Forget the old days, we won't bow down to the man. Scotland's nation will rise by the work of our hands. Oh, Scotland's nation will rise by the work of our hands. Okay guys, let's hear you. Clap your hands. So watch us rise into the sky. See the passion for freedom in our eyes. We were lost in the lies. Scotland calls, so watch us rise. One more time, let's hear you sing. Watch us rise into the sky. See the passion for freedom in our eyes. We were lost in the lies. Scotland calls, so watch us rise. Hope over fear, well, don't be afraid. Tell Westminster Tories, Scotland's no longer your slave. Carpe diem, will you seize the day? Cut the chains from the unicorn, show them that Scotland is brave. Let's hear you sing. Oh, where is Scotland? When will we see your legs again? I fought and died for your lead. sang that tune in George Square, I think, back in 2014, 15. Hence the Stand in the Square shows she cared. Guys, please give it up for Bruno on the sound guy. He's absolutely brilliant. He's here all day. He deals with a lot of crap, I can assure you. I do the same job. Give it up for Bruno. Dance. This is for all the no voters who need to wake up. Feel my way through the darkness, guided by a beating heart. I don't know where the journey, nowhere to start. Tell me I'm too young to understand. Said I'm caught up in a dream. Life passed me by if I don't open my eyes, and that's fine by me. So wake me up when it's all over, when the wires are and I'm older. All this time I was finding myself and I didn't know I was lost. So wake me up when it's all over, when the wires are and I'm older. All this time I was finding myself and I didn't know I was lost. I tried carrying the weight of the world, but I only have two hands. Hope I get the chance to travel, I've had any plans. Wish that I'd stay forever, not afraid to close my eyes. Life's a game made for every year, and love is the prize. Let's hear it. So wake me up when it's all over, when the wires are and I'm older. All this time I was finding myself and I didn't know I was lost. So wake me up when it's all over, when the wires are and I'm older. All this time I was finding myself and I didn't know I was lost. Okay guys, clap your hands. Cheers. Did I cut me off? I'm going to ask a very dear friend to come on the stage and join me for this last song. Amanda Brown, if you're still out there, can you come up to the stage, please? Ladies and gents, give up for Amanda Brown.
Hey, get on your ass.
Okay, let's hear you clap your hands. I can see the shining light of freedom in your eyes. I can see the arrows fly and the cross in the sky. I found the road where I hear the battle cry. I can hear the nation tonight. Cry. Feel the pride when you hear the distant pipes. Loud and clear, a thousand voices cry. I can hear the nation tonight. Woo! Across the sea and far, the flags fly so high. For all our liberty, the fight will never die. And grow so strong, join in and sing this song. I can hear the nation tonight. Walk the road and hear the battle cry. Feel the pride when you hear the distant pipe. Loud and clear, a thousand voices cry. I can hear the nation tonight. As the thunder in the fields echo through my mind,
Takes me to another place where beauty all around. Dreams are full, where freedom is never sold. I can hear the nation tonight.
Ladies and gents, put your hands together for Miss Amanda Brown. There's still a few of us standing here, man. Give yourselves a big round of applause. Walk the road and hear the battle cry. Feel the pride when you hear the distant pipes. Loud and clear, a thousand voices cry. I can hear the nation tonight. Let's take it down. Walk the road and hear the battle cry. Feel the pride when you hear the distant voice. Loud and clear, a thousand voices cry. I can hear the nation tonight. Ladies and gents, give up Mr. Pale Brown on guitar. Walk the road and hear very much. Ciao.
Thank you.
Well, we're almost there, folks. It's been a great day. And again, you know, I think Elgin's surpassed themselves today. It's been a marvellous march. Speaking to people, they're saying you made a hell of a noise in the town centre, noised the Elgin up a wee bit, and that can't be a bad thing. But our next speaker is actually going to be addressing a major issue, and it is the issue of the free ports and the impact that they actually might have, you know, on Scotland. They've been introduced very much against the will of many people who've looked into these issues, and we're actually going to hear a little bit more about that for Graham Bell for the Free Ports Action Group. So put your hands together for Graham Bell.
Well, good afternoon, folks, and thanks for staying along this late in the day. I'll try and be as brief as I can because I know that things are wearing on. So just a quick blather about free ports. I'm Graham Bell, part of the Salvo Free Ports team. We're a specialist team within Salvo. We were formed about March last year in the light of the knowledge that was unrolling regarding free ports, and we became massively aware of how large a scale the operation of corporate takeover of Scotland basically is. So within a year, the Salvo Free Ports team have held 6 public meetings right across Scotland, and also another meeting in Aberdeen about special economic zones. Now today, because we're limited for time, I'm not going to speak about the full Monty, if you like. I'll just condense it down. I've actually thrown away the script, so I'm speaking off the cuff. So, main thing is, and what we're asked all the time is when we ask about free ports, is we ask people in the street, what do you know about free ports? Answer, nothing. Because nobody knows anything about it because it's been buried. There's been no media coverage of it. The politicians have kept it under wraps. There's been very little democratic collaboration with interested parties. It's basically been just inflicted on us, for want of a better word. So where we're at just now is there are actually 2 free ports in Scotland. I think I've got enough time to explain the differences between free port and special economic zones, but the 2 free ports in Scotland are right here in the Highlands, with Inverness, Cromarty, Ardeshir, Nig and Invergordon as part of the Highlands Free Port. And in the south, in the central belt, we've got the 4th free port, which comprises basically Edinburgh City, Edinburgh Airport, right the way out to Grangemouth, yes, the Grangemouth plant, right the way up through Fife, up to just about Lookers. Every port within Fife is included within the free port zone. Now, that's fine. Geographically, that's excellent. They're all within a trading area. Now, what is a free port? Right, to cut to the chase, a free port is basically a glorified tax haven, because since we left the EU against our will in Scotland, because we're out of the EU now, there's more scope for people to trade under, so shall we say, relaxed conditions, basically unregulated. So within the free ports, you've got, and I'll quote from my notes, they are tax incentives. So for 10 years within the free port zone, the corporations that set up within the free port zone are financed out of taxpayers' funds well, basically they're being given state aid for any other reason. But within these zones, for example, in the Highlands, we've got deep water ports, and they're broken down into what they call tax sites and custom sites. Now, within the tax site area, the businesses that operate within the tax sites are basically operating tax-free. You pay no tax, no VAT. It sounds a bit like Del Boy actually, which is basically what it is. You've got the situation, and they're talking about highly paid, well-skilled jobs, but to encourage employers to employ workers within the Freeport, they've actually said, and to quote, this is a quote from the Highland Council package of incentives, employers pay 0% national insurance contributions on salaries up to 25,000 quid for new employees in the first 3 years rather. 100% of non-domestic rate reliefs eligible for businesses within the Freeport area for 5 years. So they're paying no business rates, they're paying their employees minus national insurance, and basically the employment regulations have been relaxed as well. So the poor employees within the Freeport region are being asked to work for who knows what employment conditions, because employment regulations have been retained by Westminster, and they're within the Freeport area they've been relaxed. So basically the corporate bodies who govern the Freeports can basically do what they like. It's a nightmare. So we've got 2 Freeports. Out with the Freeport area, they're establishing across Scotland corporate bodies, a mixture of what they call special economic zones, and either city deals or regional deals. Now, if you go down to our stall, you'll see a map on the banner. Each of these areas, which is marked out in blue, indicates either a Freeport area, a regional deal, or a special economic zone. Whichever way you look at it, there's taxpayers' money flying into corporate interests a go-go. The money's been extracted out of these Freeports, and essentially most of the companies within it, for example, in Grangemouth you've got Jim Ratcliffe and Ineos extracting money out of the Freeport area, and it's all whisking offshore to the Cayman Islands or wherever. So there's absolutely zero benefit for the local population. I was out and about yesterday. I'm from Inverness, and the Highlands is where I live, and I'm an I'll whisper it, I'm an ex-SNP campaigner, and I used to campaign round a good lot of the Highlands, and in the space of about 5 years we've seen the place go from being relatively prosperous to being relatively bleak. And Invergordon, with the Deepwater port, is smack bang in the middle of one of the most depressed areas in the Highlands. So that's before the Freeport kicks in, and if there's all this money being extracted out of the local economy, it can only get worse. So what are we going to do about it? Right, okay, the Salvo Freeports team had a meeting in Perth in the middle of July. We're actually expanding our campaign to take in civic society right across the board. We're trying to work with trade unions, businesses, churches, everybody. We're going to try and form a widespread campaign along the same lines as we had with the poll tax. That's how significant it is. I mean, the impact on independence can't be, it's going to be huge. If we try for independence, basically the Freeport site have got 25 years in these corporate areas. They've got 10 years minus paying any tax, business rates, so there's money being lost to the Treasury and also to the Council for business rates. So it's a no-win situation for everybody in the area. The only people that are going to win are the big corporations, so it's not good. So we're taking our campaign forward, and we need massive, and I mean massive, support from the public in Scotland, because the vast majority of people don't exactly know what's the way to hit them, and it can only get worse under what's going to happen under Labour, because they're continuing with the Tories' outrageous plans to privatise the whole of the UK. In Scotland, we're fortunate in a way, because we've got the difference between Scots law and England. In England, it is absolute mayhem. The whole land has been carved up for these corporate bodies, and they're basically being turned into fiefdoms run by undemocratic, unelected corporate bodies. To a lesser extent, that's happening in Scotland. So make yourself aware, go along to the salvo.freeport site, have a look at what we've got to say. We're setting up a new website detailing the wider campaign, and we need support from every one of you, because you're the sovereign people of Scotland, and we can fight this all the way. Okay, thank you for your support. Thank you.
This is such an important issue, and I think it's an issue that's going to grow and grow and grow. Along with an awful lot of other little gifts that we're getting for the Westminster basket. Now, our next speaker is Andrew MacDonald from the Sovereignty Party. They made their electoral bow in the general election there, and we're going to hear from Andrew about what Sovereignty are planning in terms of getting our independence movement back on track. Cheers.
Thanks, folks. It's, I think we're down to the faithful few, but nevertheless, thanks to the organisation committee for allowing us to speak and be part of this. And I'm going to start by saying that some things are indivisible and absolute. You can't, for instance, be slightly pregnant, you can't be mildly dead, and you can't be partially independent unless you're being misled. In recent days, we've been treated to the nausea of Keir Starmer's utterances about the British state and the degradation of listening to the Olympic commentators waxing lyrical about Great Britain and Northern Ireland. What's great about it? Let us be clear, Britain is not a nation. Britain is a state without nationhood. Scotland, on the other hand, is a nation without statehood, for the moment. My hope would be that those of you here today might become the New Age outlaws prepared to challenge the status quo, and instead of going south with a mandate and coming back with Section 30, be the people who rose again to win back the sovereign nation we always have been, at least since 1320, and before the jiggery-pokery of 1707, buy out, sell out by the parcel of rogues in a nation. Do we indeed have the vision and courage to proclaim our independence rather than to beg for it? Onlookers from other countries cannot believe the sleight of hand of the British government at the time of the 1979 referendum, the introduction of the 40% rule, whereby a clear majority of votes for a Scottish Assembly was negated in a stroke by the simple expedient of counting people who did not vote or indeed were dead. I doubt there is any precedent in history for such behaviour, short of the measures imposed by a dictatorship. I make my living these days as a tour guide, and I promise you that people from abroad cannot countenance how we as a distinct people are prepared to accept the unacceptable that is handed to us. What inexplicable folly was the motive of the SNP in 1988 when they betrayed their own constitution by advocating so-called independence in Europe? Did they believe that this softer option might allay people's quite natural initial fear of outright independence, or that they could persuade people that this cosy family of nations was worth the price of sacrificing so many of our freedoms to gain membership and still pretend that this was somehow independence? No campaign of information precluded this vital decision, by the way, splitting the electorate unnecessarily down the middle between options and leaving up to half the potential their own support, leaving half their own support homeless. Sorry. I make my living goes 4, sorry. The Constitution, there was no constitutional amendment at the Inverness Conference for this drastic change of policy, and the loss of sovereignty was such that it demanded a constitutional amendment. The SNP to this day say that their raison d'etre is the restoration of national sovereignty, as do ALBA. And both of them are telling lies, because if you're joining Europe prior to there being any campaign of information, and you're joining even EFTA, you're denying the sovereign people of Scotland their right to decide. No political party has it in their gift to decide what an independent Scotland will join. 59 seats out of 630 in Westminster as a stranglehold on any possible program of change and progress. Seriously, would 5 million people against 830 million in Europe be a fair exchange? I'm cutting this a wee bit short for you because the day's wearing on. If in consequences we are to be labelled outlaws, bear in mind that Rob Roy, for instance, was labelled an outlaw and all he was doing was raiding his own cattle back, as were my clan, the MacDonalds, when they raided Urquhart Castle, because the castle had been given in gift to the Grant family because the MacDonalds were becoming too powerful. In a recent speech to this assembly, David McCutcheon, our leader here, highlighted the nations that had successfully gained their independence by declaring UDI or were supported by representatives of the British government in their endeavours to be independent. Gordon Brown and Margaret Thatcher, to name but two. Very many of the African and other nations secured their freedoms from the tyranny of empires by means of unilateral declarations of independence. All but the colony of Scotland, apparently. I'm going to round this off with the words of my friend Dick Gawkin's song, Outlaws and Dreamers. I think the time has come for us to be ready to be named outlaws and to stand against anything that is deemed to be. Nobody's going to give you a referendum unless it's a referendum that's a foregone conclusion we're going to lose. So my party, Sovereignty, is working towards, at the Congress, we're going to be discussing resolutions for UDI. And I invite you people to join us if you want to be the latter-day dreamers. Dick Gawkin's song says, "Then I raise up my glass and drink deep of its flame to those who are gone, who were links in the chain. And I give my soul's promise and I give my heart's pledge to outlaws and dreamers." And life at the edge, the fire is still burning, the future's still calling, to follow this dream to the end of our days. Wishing's for fools, dreams are for outlaws. Laughter's for lovers, tears for the brave. Thank you.
Great wee speech there. Now the last speech today is from Richard Haley from Scotland Against Criminalising Communities. A big supporter of independence. What he's been doing is basically looking at the changes that we've seen in terms of civil liberties for the people of Scotland and all the different communities of Scotland, directly from the war on terror and the way in which our civil liberties have actually been curtailed. Because when you have war abroad, you have oppression at home. That's a golden rule. So I'll hand over and give a big indie welcome. He's only speaking for a couple of minutes, so give a big indie welcome to Richard Haley.
Thank you everyone who's still here. I'm not going to, I'll spare you already, I'm not going to give you the speech that I was expecting to give at all because it thinned down quite a lot. There's just a couple of things I want to say. One is, what a great day we've had. You know, we've heard from a few speakers wondering whether this movement's a bit downhearted. Didn't feel downhearted to me as we were marching through Elgin. If that's the way we carry on, we're going to win. There's another thing I want to say, and that's just a wee news update. I was in Glasgow yesterday at Glasgow Sheriff Court, where for the trial of Mick Napier, who's a founder member of the Scottish Palestine Solidarity Campaign, who were here earlier on today, and who's also a member, as I am too, of the Gaza Genocide Emergency Committee in Glasgow. That trial's been adjourned, it'll continue, so I'm not going to make any comment at all on what was said in the trial. But Mick Napier's being tried for allegedly organising illegal demos. He's been charged under the same legislation that somebody from All Under One Banner went to jail for in Glasgow a few years ago. Now, within all our movements, we have all our disagreements, but when one of us finds themselves in difficulties because of things they've been doing for all of us, we have their backs. Unconditionally, we have their backs. How are we going to move forward now? Well, whether it's about the thing I was going to talk about, how we forced Britain to stop its backing for the genocide in Gaza, or whether it's about how do we take forward the struggle for independence, well, part of it is the same thing. We march. We march like we did today. We march to bring people together, and we also march to make demands. We take action in our workplaces and our communities and wherever else we can, and we keep making demands. When our demands are refused, as I'm completely certain they will be, when our demands are refused, we come back again, a bit stronger, and we do that again and again and again and again. We keep moving forward. Freedom for Scotland, freedom for Palestine.
Excellent work there for Richard. And I think I would actually echo the point that he made. You know, folks, he's might be doing, but it didn't seem that way. We could hear you other way for, you know, at the stage here as you were actually making your way through the tune. We could get the odd skirl of the pipes on the breeze as it was actually carrying towards us. So we've actually noised Elgin up, and again I'd like to make our thanks from AUOB to Elgin, yes, Murray. They're a great wee group of people. They do great work. We'd also like to give thanks as well to Police Scotland for the work that they did in helping us make this event as safe as possible. But the biggest thanks I'd like to give is to the people who actually attended today, and particularly to those doughty few, you know, amongst you that stayed all the way to the end to listen to my dulcet tones closing this 43rd, you know, all under one banner demonstration. I can give you one guarantee: this won't be the last, and it won't be the last time you'll see us in these parts. We're putting down a marker. We're going to make Westminster scared of us again. That's the point of this movement, to put the fear of God into Westminster and to say to them, you might think you're winning, but this fight is not over yet. This fight will continue, because we cannot stand by whilst we see our communities degraded, left to rot as a result of deindustrialisation. That was no neutral economic process. That was a crime against the people of Scotland. Yes, deindustrialisation affected England, but not nearly to the same extent. We've got bullshit jobs in this country, and we've got a bullshit economy. We want a proper country, a proper nation that can actually stand alongside the other nations of this world and say no war, no peace, put an end to forever wars, put an end to imperialism attempting to try and destabilise regimes right across the globe, including in Scotland. We have been on the end of regime change and destabilisation. Do we seriously think that the British state have had nothing at all to do with the problems that we've seen within the independence movement? And we could say to those, the British deep state, yeah, do your worst, because we will keep coming back and we will keep fighting, and our movement will grow. That is the one guarantee I can give you. Scotland free or a desert?
Or a desert. You're all, are you?